Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of HPA Global Insights. I'm your host, Jeff Crowther, Executive Director of HPA Global. Actually, yesterday, the association reported on some news from one of our members, Niagen Bioscience, and they have some really interesting news about a USP monograph. So to talk about that today, kind of dive a little bit deeper into that, I'm joined by my friend Andrew Shao, Senior Vice President of Global Scientific and Regulatory Affairs. Andrew, how's it going?
Great. Good to be with you, Jeff.
Great to have you on the show again. You've been here before.
Yep.
Always great to see us. All right. Well, first off, congratulations on this news. It's pretty cool. And that's why I just wanted to do this quick video, kind of talk a little bit about it. So first question, why is having a USP monograph so meaningful for an ingredient, especially one that's kind of like a new category, like NAD plus precursor? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. That's a great question. I think from being in the industry for so many years that when categories generate a lot of interest, a lot of consumer interest, practitioner interest, like NAD supplements, um, there's a high demand, and the industry tries to meet that demand, tries to capitalize on the demand. Oftentimes we find ourselves with a market that is out in front of, ahead of the science and the regulation. In the supplement space, this is not unusual. There's other examples of that. Think about maybe CBD, was in a sort of similar situation where the market was way out front of science and regulation, like way out front. And there are other examples of that. So, it's a good thing that the industry tries to rally and seize the demand there, tries to rally and meet that demand commercially. That's a good thing because we want to try to serve consumer needs. But one of the drawbacks or one of the downsides is there can be a lack of science or a lack of standards that supports what the industry is providing to the consumer or the practitioner or the pharmacist. And that ultimately can lead to problems downstream, undermining confidence, undermining efficacy, or even safety in what the industry is trying to deliver to consumers. We're in this industry where adherence to standards is voluntary, largely, as opposed to, let's say, the drug side, where quality is really defined in regulation and in law. It's defined. In the supplement space, quality is what you as a manufacturer or ingredient supplier define your product to be. Now, you have to follow GMP, but GMPs are very, very broad, guidelines. And it's not specific to any one type of ingredient. So in the supplement space, we find ourselves sometimes without standards to benchmark against, to say, well, this is what quality really looks like. And in other product categories like botanicals or probiotics, it can be particularly problematic. What you end up with is a wide variation of what is called the same product or the same ingredient. And nobody really knows. There's no transparency around it. No one, the consumer, the practitioner, the pharmacist, doesn't really know what really is a quality ingredient or quality product because there's a lack of standards there. So what we can do is voluntarily come up with standards and say, this is the benchmark that folks should look to say, this is what a quality product is. And that's where organizations like USP come into place with the compendium monographs that they develop, is they allow us as an industry where we voluntarily adhere to standards. They allow us to generate those important benchmarks for what quality really is. And that's what I think is encompassed in a USP monograph for an ingredient. Now we have an authoritative, well-recognized, trusted standard-setting body is now setting that benchmark and saying, this is what quality is. And I think that's important for a growing, bustling category where things are a little bit out of control in the NAD supplement category, where you have all sorts of different products out there. Many of them don't meet their label claim. So we definitely have a quality problem in this category. And I think that's the USP monograph is a very important step in that direction of setting that benchmark.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and I know this took this process took many years for you guys, and you certainly didn't have to do it because nicotinamide riboside for you guys is selling well, and you by far have done, tons of research on this ingredient. So the question is, why does an independent third-party standard setting matter for today, especially in the dietary supplement industry?
Yeah. Um, uh, uh, I think that you know the this category of NAD precursors, you have NR products, you have NMN products, really exploding in the marketplace. Here domestically and globally, but it's out in front of the the science and the regulation to some extent, where there isn't yet an authoritative body benchmarking what really quality is for this category. Not all NR is created equally. Even though it may say nicotinamide riboside on the label, how does the consumer or the physician or the pharmacist really know that that's a quality ingredient and that product is going to meet its label claim? There's a lot of variability, huge variation in the category as to what products actually contain what they claim to contain, and the level of contaminants that they might have. There's a lot of variation. And I think that it was important for us to align with an organization like USP, set this standard, which, by the way, is based on our ingredient. It's the work that we've done in our lab for many, many years that basically served as the basis for this monograph. We felt it important to work with USP and set that very important benchmark so that stakeholders, consumers, physicians, pharmacists know what a quality in our product is.
No, not, I don't think this is a perfect example, but it just came to my mind quickly because it's one that I use a lot. And I think if we use calcium as an example, and this is from the consumer perception, a doctor might say, "Oh, you need more calcium." And then what does the person do? If they're not really too knowledgeable, they're just going to go to Walmart or something and they're going to see calcium, carbonate and just, "Oh, okay, let's get that."
Right.
But there's many, many types of calciums to offer consumers, some much better absorbing than others. So I don't know. I just kind of felt like what you were talking about there was a little bit of like that in terms of the consumer perception of like, they just hear this NAD plus and then all these other things attached to it, NR, NNM, and this and that,
Yeah.
and where do we go? And I think is that a good
Yes.
example to some
Yeah,
degree?
that's definitely part of it, is that you know there's obviously a lot of health benefits, and these are emerging and evolving every day. The science continues to grow around the importance of boosting and maintaining optimal NAD. And that's what's one of the things that's really exciting, except that, the best, safest, most proven way to do that with a supplement is with Niagen or True Niagen. But many folks don't know that because, as you said, it's sort of muddled through, is it NAD? Is it NMN? What do I take? And so this was another reason behind taking this step and working together with USP, is to align our brand and all the work that we have invested with the gold standard setting body in the world, frankly, is USP.
All right, and final question. If there's one thing industry stakeholders should take away from this USP monograph news, What is it?
So I guess I'll repeat what I had said earlier is that this is not just another monograph because USP does this, routinely. It's not that frequent on the supplement side. I was explaining to you the process earlier involves a sponsor and so forth, and there aren't a whole lot of ingredient companies that will come forward and work with USP on this. But I think it's important for the industry to know that this monograph is based on our ingredient and all of the work and the years worth of analytical work, NMR work, HPLC work, all of that we did for years to establish our ingredient already up front. And we simply, shared that with USP and worked with USP to go through its rigorous process. So I think that's an important thing for the industry to know that it is Niagen Bioscience that's making these investments in quality and in science and furthering the whole category really of NAD science. That's something that we very much want the industry to know. I think going back to our beginning of our conversation, we have this unlevel playing field in the supplement space. And it's enabled by a lack of standards or a lack of adherence to established standards. It's kind of a race to the bottom, who can sell the cheapest ingredient, but call it the same thing. So this unlevel playing field without enough FDA enforcement has been enabled for many years. It continues to be enabled. And what we're trying to do is simply level the playing field. And, working together with USP to establish this monograph is another effort that we have invested in to try to level the playing field so that the consumer, the physician, the pharmacist can see who they should trust. Because, we're the ones that are investing in the science. We're the ones that are investing in quality in this category. And that's the thing that I would want the industry to take away the most from, this news.
Yeah, so I think, approaching USP to do this type of work, you have to have all your P's and Q's in order there. Otherwise,
That's
it's
right.
the fly.
Otherwise, it doesn't happen. That's right.
All right, Andrew, thanks so much for your time and your insights. Really appreciate it. Friends joining us here, thanks for tuning in, and please consider subscribing. Until next time, thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.